Good afternoon. Welcome to Session 7 of European Entrepreneurship at the Stanford School of Engineering. My name is Burton Lee. I'm the course instructor. Today, we have a very important session on Estonia. Estonia is one of our core partners, has been a founding partner of this course here at Stanford since 2009. And then the second half of the session will be covering co-working spaces in Berlin and Barcelona, featuring our first speaker out of Catalonia. Today we're very pleased to welcome Rainer Sternfeld from PlanetOS, based here in the Valley and with operations in Tallinn.
Tallinn as well, yes.
Tallinn as well. Andrus Viirg, our sponsor, our partner here from Enterprise Estonia, Silicon Valley. And then our two guests who have flown all the way from Berlin and Barcelona, Max and Jordi, to talk about co-working spaces in Europe, focused on Berlin and Barcelona. We have not featured any speakers on the co-working space part of the European ecosystem. It's extremely important part of early ecosystem development and growth. So we're very fortunate to have both of them, again, fly all the way in here. PlanetOS is a very interesting big data, so ocean, maritime data company, as Rainer's going to discuss with us. This is Estonia. Tallinn is capital. Here's Russia, Latvia. Up here is Finland. Very interesting country with long traditions. Betahaus Berlin. This is the Betahaus Berlin website. Invite you to visit Berlin, very historic city going back many, many centuries. Here in Germany. And then Betahaus Barcelona, which is located as the capital of Catalonia, Spain, which is here in the upper northeast corner. And so Jordi coming here today as our first Catalonia speaker is also part of a small theme we're emphasizing this year around independence movements in Europe, where Scotland and Catalonia have had major ongoing efforts over years around independence. Scotland most recently held a referendum, a vote. Catalonia may be doing so sometime in the near future. First, a few words about some very unfortunate events in Russia. Last Friday, there was a political assassination on the doorsteps of the Kremlin of Boris Nemtsov, opposition politician. Again, we don't cover European politics here. We cover how European politics affects the startup entrepreneurship environment and ecosystem. This is very bad for Russia because he was one of the leading voices for free speech and against war, against violence. So this is a real setback for Russia. It's very unfortunate. Yesterday, there was a major march of tens of thousands of people mourning him and basically also protesting against the Putin government. So now to our session. The first part will be focusing on Estonia. Our first speaker will be Andrus Viirg, representing Enterprise Estonia, Silicon Valley. We encourage you to tweet actively. These are the Twitter handles of each of our speakers. Andrus, thank you for once again coming to Stanford Engineering and speaking.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So good afternoon. My name is Andrus Viirg, and I'm representing Enterprise Estonia here in Silicon Valley. Just very briefly, what is Enterprise Estonia? We are a government foundation for business support and development. We are implementing European Union structural funds, meaning that we are like a financing agency giving out grants for businesses, R&D institutions, and the third sector. And we also do the investment trade and also tourist promotion, and that's why we have quite an extensive like office network outside of Estonia. In US, it's only in Silicon Valley, and that's me, one person show. So I think already you know where Estonia is geographically. It is in Northern Europe. We are a member of EU and NATO and in the Eurozone from 2011. And what's also quite important on the national accounts, our government debt to GDP is only 10%, which is pretty unique in the world, I can say. But here is another map, actually. This is like a language or a cultural map putting Estonia totally in other part of the tree. We are somewhere here. As you see, the Indo-European big branch is going up, and then actually yeah, Estonia together with Finnish and Hungarian are really like a side branch. And in this sense, we are pretty different and pretty peculiar language, Estonia. I can also say that, well, there is a saying that there is no sex and new future for Estonian language, as there is no feminine or male persons in the language, and we don't have the future tense. It's only past and present. So how is to do business in Estonia? I think we're also pretty unique in the world in this sense that we have a flat tax, which is 20%, and this is equal for everybody, for physical persons, private persons, and also for the companies. And the companies pay it only when taking out the profit. So it's actually dividends that are taxed. Just recently, the Economic Freedom Index was announced by the Wall Street Journal and Heritage Foundation, and Estonia is actually #1 in the European Union. If you look at the European map, it is Switzerland that is #1, and globally we are number 7, even ahead of US. It's only Singapore, New Zealand, the countries that are ahead of Estonia. And also quite recently, there was an interesting article by Greg Lindsay on the future of the global cities, where it is the best to launch your startup and go global or go internationally. And actually, Tallinn, the capital of Estonia, was included in these 5 cities as one of the most wired capitals or cities in the world, and quite an extensive tech talent available thanks to the Skype. I hope that people already know that Skype was launched in Estonia, and still they have the biggest office in Tallinn, in Estonia. So how Estonia has reached these high rankings and has gone to the so-called League of technologically advanced countries. It is really thanks to all the e-service platforms available in Estonia. Are they for the government side, like paying taxes, or all the registers that are online, and also e-voting. So we just, as Burton mentioned, we just had the elections, parliamentary elections, and actually 1/3 of Estonians voted online. And then it's also the banking. So we can say that nowadays it's almost 100% of the bank transactions are online. We never had paper checks, which is really peculiar to have it here in the States. And then it is the Skype phenomenon. We can on the startup scene, we can say that Skype has acted almost like a academy for our startups. As you see here on the graph, how much money the startup coming from Estonia have raised internationally. So it is much more than actually from Estonia. So in this sense, we have to go global immediately, as Estonia is a small market, and Skype has really educated our tech talent to do business globally. Estonian mafia is also an interesting and nice verb, actually invented here in Silicon Valley by Dave McClure, who was already confused how many Estonian startups are coming out of Estonia, a small country. And just highlighting a couple of the so-called recent success stories. GrabCAD, that was founded in 2010, had a very nice exit last year, 100 million acquired by Stratasys, US and Israeli 3D printing solution provider. And GrabCAD itself is like a Facebook for mechanical engineers, and also providing like a platform for sharing and also trading all the CAD drawings. and even NASA is actually using this workbench of GrabCAD. And then really the first unicorn, 1 billion valuation company from Estonia, TransferWise, making disrupting the money exchange or money transfer cross-border wise. And you can see a lot of naked Estonians on these pictures. So the slogan here is nothing to hide. So there are really no so-called hidden fees as the banks usually have when transferring and exchanging currencies. And last week, TransferWise also opened their New York office, and these are the two founders, Estonians in the freezing New York, also naked, nothing to hide. In just having a glimpse on other innovations, then in 2013 we went to space. First Estonian satellite was launched, thanks to with the help of the French this time, and actually last year Estonia launched the first ever supranational e-residency platform or scheme in the world, meaning that we are providing e-residency cards for everybody. I have the applications here, so you can later also look at these and understand what they are. So it's actually
Andrus, can we pass these out?
Yes, sure. Okay. We are offering for other people, not Estonian citizens or residents, the ability to use all the e-services made available for us Estonians, are they on the government side or also on the private side. So you could very easily set up your company in Estonia and do all necessary things, all the board meetings, signing digitally the reports, and also doing the online banking. And the idea is to have 10 million e-Estonians by 2025. As you know, Estonian current population is only 1.3 million, so it is a pretty ambitious so-called target. But this is not like a citizenship or a residency permit. You can't, how to say, live and work in Estonia, but we are just offering the e-services. And I think these 10 million people are quite achievable. As here on this picture, you can see the fan club of San Jose Earthquakes. So they are using the same colors, blue, black, and white. And so I think it's very, very doable. And actually, the e-residency platform was launched also here in Silicon Valley just last December when our Prime Minister visited here, and the first cards were given to Steve Jurvetson and Tim Draper here. And Steve Jurvetson later commented that it would be a very useful thing or tool for the startup companies in their portfolio who want to set up the European presence. And Andrus and Horowitz later commented as well that this is so-called freaking huge man, giving anyone the European presence digitally. But it's not only the IT inventions. Just a couple of weeks ago, we also had already six European sauna marathons. So actually, again, you have to almost run naked in the snow and find out. Nothing to hide. Nothing to hide. But then you have to find the saunas, given saunas and who wins is who does it in the least time. And it was more than 1,000 participants already, all over the world. No, that's already like a European, some Finns and some Germans, and I don't think that the Americans did it. So,
maybe from the East Coast.
Yeah, and finally, just in closing, that in May we have a very big and interesting startup conference, Latitude 59. Latitude 59 is the latitude coming through Tallinn, and that event actually brings together startups in our region from the Nordics, from Russia, from Central Europe, and also the venture capital, and also from Silicon Valley. We are cooperating with Blackbox here in Palo Alto, who are assisting us in doing the global like pitch competition for startup companies, and the prize fund is 25,000 euro plus. So welcome to Estonia, and thanks for listening.
Just to put the 10 million person e-residency program in perspective, the population of Estonia is about 1.3 million,
yes,
right? So this is 8 times the size of Estonia, purely based on population, all digital. This is very transformational. It's a complete rethink of what it means to be, to have national identity, to be Estonian, to be a citizen. So, and if you think about Estonia's geographic position, this also gives Estonia an increased degree of diplomatic network protection against some of its neighbors, which can be extremely important in the coming days and weeks. Eilif.
What's been the reaction so far, Andrus, to this program? I agree with Burton. It's amazing. It'll be really interesting to follow, and of course it's early on.
Sure.
So, but what has been the reaction you're seeing? Are people signing up like crazy? I know that Tim Draper was very enthusiastic about it. He's a good PR guy to have on board.
Sure. And as I said, that it's really a good PR for the so-called US companies or startups who want to have their Estonian presence, that they can very easily do it through Estonia, setting up the office here, and then you can do business all over Europe, because all the digital signatures and the banking is actually accepted all in the European Union. But as I said, we are seeing lot of applications, and I think there is now even a sort of a backlog that it takes more time to actually screen and go through all the applications. Right now, you have to still come to Estonia to apply for the so-called e-residency card, because you have to meet the Estonian officials eye to eye. The idea is from April to also give the embassies and consulates of Estonia the same rights. So in US, it's only in New York and Washington, D.C. that they can do these procedures.
So people have to physically come into a local Estonian diplomatic representation?
Yes, because you really need to give your fingerprints and also take a picture, and then you are also screened or Googled or using other databases, really to prevent bad people to join.
I'm sure we have a few good people here in the audience. Questions? We have time for a couple more questions for Andrus. Question for you. So, transfer-wise, GrabCAD. By the way, GrabCAD spoke here, Hardy Maybaum, 3 years ago. So we featured a number of very top Estonian companies. What's going to happen to GrabCAD? And obviously, they're now part of Stratasys. But has GrabCAD success helped generate a new generation of more mechanical engineering design companies out of Estonia, rather than traditional more IT companies, app companies?
Well, I think the biggest so-called impact has been that actually GrabCAD, the first founders and the first angel investors, they were Estonians. And now you can say that they are now on the so-called second level or second tour, and they are definitely now looking for new opportunities, and that also helps to raise the money available for Estonian startups. As actually GrabCAD moved pretty early to Boston from Tallinn, and they don't have a very big office anymore in Tallinn. Their biggest is still in Boston.
Okay. But because of GrabCAD's success, that's created new millionaires in Estonia who are now reinvesting back into a new generation of Estonian startups. Yes. Very important. Yes?
Do Estonia have any particular bilateral agreements with, for example, the United States when it comes to taxation? Or will the United States policy on universal taxation backfire of people that try to get the taxation?
Yep. Yep. There is the so-called investment protection agreement, but what concerns the taxation, it is pretty tough for the US citizens to do actually business in the whole Europe, especially opening a bank account. Right now, the European banks are sort of reluctant to do that, as they have to report back to the IRS for that matter. But it is doable, of course. But it is much more bureaucratic, to be honest.
Okay. We're going to bring Andrus back up at the end for a joint Berlin-Barcelona Estonia session. Andrus, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll leave that here. So our next speaker is Rainer Sternfeld of PlanetOS, formerly known as Marine Explorer. Right. Rainer's been here in the Bay Area. How long have you been based here? A year and a half?
No, 3 years.
3 years at this point.
This month.
Okay. And you're all mic'd up?
Yep.
There you go. Please tell us what you're doing at PlanetOS.
All right. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for inviting me over here. Maybe before I even start, I just wanted to comment a little bit about what Andrus was saying. I'm really proud to be from Estonia, really proud of what our country's achieved in the last 23 years. And regards to this e-residency is with PlanetOS, we made a small internal kind of decision that all non-Estonian employees should become e-Estonians at least. And our first person to do that was a Hawaiian person, which probably was the first Hawaiian to become an e-resident, if not the first Hawaiian to go into an Estonian sauna. And who was very eager to go on a sauna marathon. So we'll see how that will work out. So PlanetOS, it all started from a bunch of a small group of engineers and a buoy, and we're trying to access this data. We're trying to understand how to work with this data, and it's really hard to do that. We discover that there are a lot of people doing that already, trying to access it, and not with a lot of success. And so we come up with this idea in April 2011 that we really should have like the Google for public ocean data. And we head out and create what's called Marine Explorer. And marineexplorer.org today is the biggest free online service for public ocean data, where anybody can sign up and go and acquire any data that we have available. We today have 33 organizations around the world we have agreements with. Nearly 40,000 devices are streaming data into this service on a daily basis. And the reason why we are doing that is because we feel that indexing the real world really helps the humanity to understand how the planet works, and plugging into really big industries such as energy industry or shipping industry or the governments themselves, not to mention defense or agriculture and aerospace. And literally everything that is happening outside or outdoors is much more interesting for me that is happening inside or in your pocket as the mobile phone. That's just maybe me, but I really would like to do something that is important for the humanity, especially since the population is growing and growing. And at some point in time, the end of 2013 actually, we had enough inquiries from different parties, different customers, that we figured that, hey, this cannot be only about the oceans, this should be more than just the oceans. Because too often all this data that's being worked on and collected is being shipped with hard drives or email or FTP servers and even paper reports. And so you ended up with data professionals that wanted to work with this data to understand either oil leaks or climate change or whatever else you might be working on. And that would be only accessible for hardcore data professionals, and all the executives would be cut out of the loop. And so we created, rebranded the company as PlanetOS to focus on the real world in general, because it doesn't make any difference whether you work with sensors in the ocean, on land, or atmospheric ocean, or even small satellites in space. And this is a very, very growing area where if you look at where microprocessor prices are going, they're going down. If you're looking at the energy consumption, it's going down. So it all means one thing: sensors are just outgrowing any other data. Sensor data is outgrowing any other data type. But before I go into more technical, I just wanted to kind of throw into the mix a little bit different ideas here. Have you ever thought about, when did weather forecasting become unreliable? Like, when did it really start to suck? And this may give you a little bit of an idea. No matter what you think of climate change, data is really, really non-singular. It doesn't give you a single good answer. And what it really says is that these kinds of observations that we have been doing over the past 50, 100 years cannot be used anymore to predict the weather. And so us in this mobile era where we want to know, when there's a better surf, or what is the weather today, right now, around me, does not work with this. And when did it start to become kind of awesome? It's not really that awesome just yet, but the first of the people that actually said, listen, this old school way of doing things sucks, were surfers. So surfers really wanted to know what is the swell and wind and wave tomorrow in Santa Cruz at 9 a.m. because it's going to be the difference of 2 hours. You prepare, you drive an hour, and then you have to drive back, so you don't want to miss it. So Surfline really figured it out by using data and buoys to actually extrapolate this information and say exactly what is the different surf condition in different location, and they've become infamous in predicting surfing competitions around the world pretty well. So they were one of the first. So it's like interesting to see who is going to be, driving the change. The second company I want to bring up is Forecast.io. The company itself is Dark Sky, and what they do is they really use crowdsourced data as well as your own mobile phone location to say what is the weather around you. And it's kind of cool. It works only where you have actually good radar coverage surrounding you. So if you go to some country that doesn't have that coverage, then it doesn't help you. And this application itself is powered by another system which is called Weather Underground. And this is a bigger play, which is something very exciting for us at PlanetOS. And anybody in this room or anybody at all can buy a Weather Underground accredited weather station and place it in the back of their home and get paid a little bit. It's not a lot of money, but get paid for contributing to the weather forecasting. And so the more people do that, the better the weather becomes. And so this service Forecast.io will tap into that source. So it's a very, very powerful way how to get an understanding of what is actually happening. And if you think about like tsunamis and things like that, this is something that we will see over time. And there's a lot of investments going into that domain. Then second of all, what we're dealing with is, of course, energy and oil and gas, because they have a lot of problems. Still doing it, okay? But what is the root cause of actually these spills happening operationally? Not talking about greed and big platforms and whatever, but operationally. Why do accidents happen at all? And this is a satellite image about the oil spill, so to speak, the Macondo oil spill, which happened in 2010 in April. Or was it March? And this is an interesting footprint here. If you look at a map, and Gulf of Mexico is not really a gulf. I mean, yes, it's a gulf by definition, but the size of it really doesn't do it justice. So it's really huge. And the problem there was that the data that they had collected was available, but not available to access. It was too big to move, so when the accident happened, they weren't able to access it, but also no time to move it. Means that you send the vessels out quickly and then use satellite imagery, but you go there and start cleaning up. But by the time you make that decision, already some stuff has happened, and the ocean is three-dimensional, it's really dynamic, so you mess things up very quickly. And if you want to find the right data, you cannot, because you have to use these very old school data management systems where you would just basically the equivalent of DOS these days. You would have to use something like DOS, and you would just try to find something. Everything would be in folders. And guess what? They would have hundreds of copies of all this different data. You wouldn't even know what the right data was. So it's like, okay, never mind. Let's just try to make the best of it. And so more data needs more powerful tools, and we really need to increase the data fluency of the operations. And this is a slide from one slide from our kind of introductory slides to the oil and gas community on kind of on land, not offshore. And there are a lot of different use cases, but primarily why I put this slide here is contextual information. So there's a lot of data coming in on a physical level. A lot of this data doesn't come together on a software level that you would want to have. Like, for example, we have SCADA data. For those of you who don't know, SCADA is, in layman's terms, sensors around processes, physical, like pressure, gauge pressure, temperature, whatever, wired to your factory, to your processes, outside and inside your factory. You have weather environmental data, like weather stations. You have drones flying over the areas. You have remote sensing data, things like that. And so there have been a lot of accidents where all this data should be available, but still it happens. And the main reason, and the answer to my question earlier, is that humans cannot understand all the information that is presented to them. Humans cannot comprehend the amounts of information. What it means is that the software needs to be doing that. The software needs to identify the events automatically and then let us know as specialists what to do and what not to do. And this is primarily what we are trying to enable, both the first part, which is organizing, making sense of this data, and B, actually trying to build event detection systems for different industries together with specialists, because we're not subject matter experts in like oil spills or whatnot. And we recently have been selected in Norway to build an oil spill detection software, next generation, with an oil company and oil spill detection specialists. And with our platform, you can build that in a couple of months. So we like to say, why build a Windows if you just need to build an Excel? So that's kind of like, we build the Windows, you build the Excel. And this is an interesting piece here. Hewlett-Packard really has come out with a nice sentence which says that by 2020, 40% of all data ever will be collected by sensors, which means this will be the main medium we will be working with in understanding the surrounding environment. And there are a couple of cases that I would like to bring out. One is NOAA, which is the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, otherwise known as the Ocean NASA. Some people may not know this. And they have 25,000 employees. They have hundreds of petabytes of data, and they have 700 web services trying to put out this information to everybody. And they have had a lot of trouble doing that, both technically, organizationally, financially, and so forth. And so what if all this data would be easily discoverable to everybody? So this is a challenge that they're having right now, and it will be interesting to see what will come of it. And I already gave you a small introduction into Marine Explorer. And Marine Explorer itself is already the biggest free available service for that kind of information. And NOAA's employees are the biggest users of our service, which is a testament to what we're doing is kind of the right thing. Second is an interesting use case we recently had in Brazil, and the operation is still actually ongoing as we speak. There is an offshore operator called Bramante, and they conduct environmental baseline surveys for big oil companies to understand whether they're allowed or not to actually start production of oil in a specific area. And there are 5 big major oil companies: BP, Chevron, Quiros, Premier Oil. I'm blanking on the final one, too many. And then the idea is really that before PlanetOS, they used literally spreadsheets sent every 24 hours to all these stakeholders to understand what the situation is. And if you think about the prices of that vessel, then it costs like about $100,000 per day to operate this. And so if you have like bad weather and you need to wait out for another 20 days, that will cost you another $2 million. And pretty different prices. So we have helped Bramante to increase the data update from 24 hours to 3 hours. And this is very important for them. And so this is a nice image here of the research, nice old lady here, and then, I'm sorry. And then the interface itself that we created kind of correlated all into one picture here. But the whole idea is that the executives and the health and safety managers and environmental managers can all monitor this while specialists do their own work and in one system. So the way we see it, as I said, we are an industrial IoT platform for real-world sensor networks. we specifically focus on the workflows in the realm of the real world, so to speak, in ocean, land, air, and space. And the layers of PlanetOS really include everything that you need in order to ingest, organize, visualize, and then access this information and build applications on top. Our core focus is to really the data discovery, for the user, it's really easy to find the correct information, whether that is your own proprietary information, your commercial data from vendors, or public data with one system. And a couple of things that I want to show here is that here's the map of all devices on the internet. Imagine what this image will look like 10 years from today. This is a ping sent out to the internet, and these are mostly consumer devices, mind you. So this is very important to understand that the world is going to change completely in 10 years, what you're seeing here. And a couple of examples what you might face. So this is Liquid Robotics, a nice company here in Sunnyvale, practically our neighbors. They've built a wave glider, which is basically a robotic surfboard propelled by wave power. And they have raised an incredible amount of money to build this out in their dream. They have even hired the guy that invented Java, James Gosling, to work for them. So it's a massive challenge at scale because it's really hard to build something into the ocean that actually lasts, and it's a lot of money. Secondly,
sorry,
yes.
Go back to the big global map slide, that one. So in 2020, so 40% of all data comes from
volume, yeah.
From sensors. So are you saying that a lot of these black spaces, ocean, for example, will basically be filled with nodes, with sensors?
The ocean is the kind of the last resort. There will probably never say never, but there will probably never be an ocean kind of sensor soup. It's not very good actually to do that.
What about the deserts, the jungles,
yes.
the Amazon, the forests?
Yeah. Yeah,
so we'll see a lot of these dark areas filled out with sensors, basically.
Yeah, absolutely, that will be the case. There will also be the case for drones, for satellites. So that's the point. So Liquid Robotics, they want to build out a grid into the ocean, but it has to have its limits how much you actually will deploy. But however, they have survived storms, and they stream video at 300 millisecond lag. So it's a phenomenal piece of technology. Another thing that is growing really fast is marine acoustics, and we have hired the world-renowned specialist in that, Dr. Chris Clark out of Cornell, leading that domain for the last 30 years, and working on software that will completely, hopefully, change how we understand noise in the oceans, especially due to human activity in there. Nanosatellites, the amount of nanosatellites is going to be tenfold of the one today. So it's cheaper to launch stuff into space, hopefully with companies like SpaceX and hopefully others coming. They're smaller and smaller, and the cameras are becoming better and better. Very simple math. Satellite business has been very exclusive so far. It's still exclusive, but it's becoming more and more commodity. Today, if we talk about like mobile data or like any other data, it's a commodity and we don't talk about it. So the value add normally is the one that takes a lot of the money. In the satellite domain, if you own a satellite, you're the guy making most of the money today. That won't be the case in the future, but it's further up. Drones, if you're trying to start a company, start a drone company or something around that, this is a very, very promising thing already today. FAA just published new legislation enacted new legislation that really allows commercial drones to grow in applications all around the world, specifically in agriculture, energy, and things like that are smaller and kind of non-intrusive. Say the elephant in the room itself is agriculture. This is by far the biggest thing. We need to feed the world. We need to understand how the planet works, what kind of food to grow, how to grow it. Otherwise, it's going to be like Interstellar. And lastly, I think what is missing from all this traditional value chain in the data world is data exchange, and this is what we are focusing on the bottom line. So PlanetOS is really fostering data exchange between different entities, between end users and governments, between governments and data vendors, between data vendors, and again, their end customers, and then regular folks like you and me, because we really are not in that domain every day. And so, but this is today missing in this space, and you can easily see how this can fit in once you think about like having one interface to access it. So you want to find a restaurant, you Google it. You want to find some kind of directions, you Google it. So we really want to strive to become the Google for real-world information. So we index the real world. That's it. Thank you.
Aleph.
You know, a complexity that I didn't hear you talk about, at least in my view, is, and particularly when you talk about data exchange, is data standards.
Yes.
And particularly when you have a lot of different types of data streams, data vendors, and so how big is that, and how, and at least what I know about standards is you have standards bodies that move at glacial speed, and so what are some of from your perspective, the biggest barriers to preventing this thing from really taking off? And standards, one of the...
Standards are the barriers to move this forward. So the way it actually interestingly works, when you go to a big company or even the government that should follow a lot of these standards, when you ask them, like, how do you, like, do you use OGC standards? Hell no. Like, no, we don't use this. We just do have our own exchange here, and we just use OGC when we have to interact with another party, because that's the only way to interact. So the fastest way is always to have some kind of your own system, then trust the standard. And it used to be the vice versa. You had a standard, it was simple.
The proprietary silos.
Yeah, exactly. But that's all about the change, and the real reason for that is hardware. So the legacy hardware, especially if you consider hardware that is being deployed in the real world, has to last for X amount of years. It's not just like your iPhone that you're just renewing all the time. Stuff is in the ocean for 30 years. We still get data from 1970, devices from 1970. It still works. Nobody will replace that because it costs so much money to replace them. And so you have to have data transformation processes in place, and you have to index the data in a way that allows you to understand the context of this information, which is what we have been doing. And we try to go the initial way into the standardization. For a startup, that's like a certain death, basically. And we looked into that, and we have had people, and it's nice to know about these things, but in a way, I stay away as far as I can from these things. And what we try to do instead is like, okay, you have these devices, use the hardware itself, deploy new sensors, deploy new transmitters, do that. That's as least you can do. And people are doing that. And now with like satellites and wave gliders and things like that, the coverage that these new devices provide is phenomenal. You can just tap into so much more information than you were. And yes, your investment was made, and yes, it was expensive, but cry at home about it, because you're not going to be doing any science based on this old data anymore. It only will give you some lineage of the information. That's it. So there's no easy way to say there's one standard. It's not going to happen.
Question. So I have a question. Malaysia Air, the lost airline, Malaysia Airlines.
Oh, favorite questions.
Your favorite question. Now, I know you guys are not involved in the search, but has that raised awareness of the gaps in oceanic data, and has that helped you sell your value proposition as a new company?
Yeah, absolutely. But I would say that has more helped us in non-US areas, where the investments into data acquisition about these kinds of assets has not been a priority, because it's expensive and people have other things to do. And people have asked us whether you're involved in the search or not. The thing is, I don't want to disturb anybody, but yeah, the ocean is a really big place, and searching for a Malaysian airline that has just disappeared using buoy data, well, good luck with that. It is really, that's not how you should go about it. Any aviation person would say it to you. I actually read an aviation book just because to understand how this stuff works. But it does help us to make our point across by saying, like, you need to be able to monitor your environment. The 2004 tsunami, or 2005 tsunami, helps us a lot. So things like that, unfortunately, people will start to think about when already it's a little bit too late. Understanding the information of the world is kind of important. Just an understatement, I guess. But even the fact that PlanetOS exists today is a lineage of a lot of events started in Estonia. Our first customer, or the customer that hired us to build the data buoy back at FlyDog, which is my own engineering consultancy at the time, was Marine System Institute in our Tallinn University of Technology. And they got the money because they've got attention of the funders, because when they said in January 2005 that there's going to be a big storm and we're going to have a big flood in the western and the southwestern part of Estonia, nobody believed them, and it completely flooded everything. A lot of money, just crazy amount of damage. And from there they got more attention to build like a data buoy. Then we built the data buoy, then we discovered all these problems. So like it's a huge lineage, started from something. Talk about a butterfly effect. So these things do work, but somebody has to kind of also make it happen. And if you think about it, like it was 10 years ago when the Estonian flood happened, and here I am 10 years later. So it's a little bit too much time, in my opinion.
We have time for one or two more questions. Caleb, yes.
You refer to HP and sensors. Mm-hmm. A number of years ago, there was quite a bit of visibility, talk in the press about HP's idea for, I think they call sensor dust. Have you heard of that? And I'm wondering if that is going anywhere, or if that was just an idea that they were exploring. They're basically going to throw sensors by the billions everywhere.
It's still a dream by
nanosensors?
Yeah.
The term for that is nanosensors or smart dust, and it's any hardware engineer's dream probably to just spray sensors all over the place. I'm not sure about that actually, but the case is that we need granularity. We need granularity. The way you achieve granularity without in situ data is there's no other way. You have to deploy some physical sensors. However, I think the answer is really mobile sensors, and I don't think that there's now, you have the cloud technology, then you have also like fog. Everybody has tried to minimize, it's like the phones. You try to see what is the smallest entity that you can create and then survive. In real life, it always bounces back to like utility. What is the smallest utility that you can use? And also, I mean, just be very frank, smart dust technology just doesn't scale because of energy. You just cannot put, unless we solve the energy first, it's like, we cannot really solve the smart dust. Yes, we can make these small sensors, but it will last for like 2 hours, and then now what?
And how does PlanetOS scale its business model?
Yeah. Today we work with one direct business model, which is direct sales, and it's a long, tedious, onerous process that will make me gray one day, but that's just the go-to-market. The real scaling of PlanetOS business model will come from data exchange, which is why I closed out. And we will really provide access to all proprietary or public or commercial data using one interface with security in mind. The data that you should allow to see, you'll see that. So I think that is an easy way to do it, but the way to get there, that's not the easy way. So we start out by basically trying to be the similar guys that are selling in the same way. But however, we sell a completely different product in a non-intrusive way, which allows us to get sales much easier. So we're not going to a customer and say, hey, you need to swap this software. Instead, I'm saying, hey, here's the content. You can plug it into any software that you have. If you like the data, you can always open PlanetOS. So you kind of be friendly about it at first.
Okay. Rainer, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will bring Rainer up again at the end along with Andrus as part of the final Q&A. So now we're shifting from the Baltic over to Central Europe and Mediterranean Europe with our speakers from Betahaus, Berlin and Barcelona, Max and Jordi. Let me get you your microphone here. And Max and Jordi, I think, are going to tag team. Let's jump to the co-working spaces talk. We have not had a talk yet on co-working spaces, so please tell us what's going on in the European co-working space, Berlin and Barcelona also. And are you kicking off, or Jordi?
Oh, sure. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And again, Jordi and Max flew all the way in from Barcelona and Berlin to be with us here today. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Burton Lee, for the invitation. Great pleasure to be here, and wonderful opportunity to visit California. So it was a good moment to come over here. Yeah, before I start, just briefly what we're going to talk about today. We're going to tell you a little bit about our personal path to entrepreneurship. We'll tell you about what we recently do at Betahaus, the history of Betahaus, what we are planning for the future. Then we're going to zoom out a little bit and talk about the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Berlin and Barcelona and what's going on in all over Europe, give you some figures of the VC investments of the last 2 years, and talk about the role co-working plays from our point of view for the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Europe. And yeah, that's it. So let us start with our personal path. As you can see, 2008, these 6 people were thinking about how we want to live and work. And what we definitely knew is we didn't want to work like this. I mean, I know this is an extreme picture, but it definitely shows our fear in being employed in some kind of corporate company. So what we saw all around Berlin and all around the city and Europe, the people like us, working freelance, working in startups, didn't have a real good place to work. So the startups might have had their own offices, the freelancers hang out in cafes, and they all didn't have like a real good professional environment to work, and they all didn't have good access to the right community. So we believed that there must be something better, and we started to research, and we found out that right in the middle of 2008, the trend of co-working, or the co-working movement, which was based on the key values, openness, accessibility, sustainability, and happiness, just swapped over from the US to Europe. And we believed that this would be the right choice for Berlin. So we started Betahaus Berlin in 2009 in January. And we created a place which is what you can see on this slide. Maybe I have to show it, which is right in the heart of the city. Here's Berlin again, right in the heart of the ecosystem, and which is where the people live, where they want to hang out, and which is just the perfect place for them to work. So Jordi will continue with what we do.
Yeah, so if you go to any Betahaus, what you will find for sure is a cafe. The cafe is a place where, where you meet other people, where you can have informal meetings. It's a social space. There you will have also, you will find Wi-Fi and desks in 2 different formats, open spaces like this one that we see in the picture, but also team rooms, because people need to close sometimes the door in order to have confidentiality and intimacy. Prototyping, you can test wherever you need. We have an electronic labor and workshop. Knowledge and education. You don't need any degree. You don't need anything. Actually, you need to get the knowledge in order to be a better entrepreneur. And events, for example, we hosted at Betahaus worldwide more than 2,000 events with more than 200,000 visitors coming to Betahaus.
And this number, the 2,000 events, was only for last year. So there's a lot of things going on. 200,000 visitors for events is a big number. And all this leads to our mission, and all this is related to our mission. We are offering workspace in order to connect people and to foster entrepreneurial activities. We are offering special education to the people in order to connect. We are hosting all these events as an event venue, and we do a lot of things by ourselves in order to connect people. And this all created the Betahaus family. So let me tell you where the Betahaus family is today. So as you see, this is Berlin, 2009, incorporated. We are now having a venue of 3,000 square meters with about 450 members in the city. We are running a beautiful space in the city of Hamburg, which just got expanded on 1,400, 1,500 square meters with a community of 300 members plus, strong growing. There was a big need in the city of Hamburg to get a place like this. Then you see Köln, which is Cologne, on the map. I included it because it was the only failure story we had the last 6 years. We had to shut down after we incorporated 2011. We closed doors in 2013. And because this is an entrepreneurial lecture, I think the failure experience taught us a lot of things about expansion. So we slowed down a little bit and we started to do things more professional instead of doing things quick. So the story continued. In the end of 2011, we opened a beautiful space in Bulgaria, which is still one of my favorite spaces. I mean, I have a lot of favorite spaces, but it's really nice to see the Eastern European entrepreneurial spirit. There's so many things going on, and at the moment we are on 1,500 square meters with 110 members, and there's a lot of interesting things coming out of Betahaus Sofia. So the last one in the line is Betahaus Barcelona. We launched a laboratory 2 years ago, May 2013, to test out if the city of Barcelona is ready for Betahaus. They were. So we built up a space which is right now on 2,000 square meters, having 7 wonderful terraces overviewing the sea, and we're hosting 150 members right now, but we can grow in the building. So,
thank you. So we saw the services that we provide. We saw also the houses that we owe, but we thought that this wasn't enough because we're getting into a much more mobile world. The people needs to move. So we decided to sign some cooperations agreements with people that really are like sharing the same philosophy and have the same values like us. And yeah, this is the cooperation network that we have right now worldwide, from Denmark, Copenhagen to New York. Well, and we believe this is still growing in the next days.
And this actually means when you have a Betahaus membership, you can go to all these places. So you are very flexible in using our spaces. So, as I said before, the mission is to foster entrepreneurship and to connect people. So there's 2 big side projects we run all the time to fulfill this, this target. The one is Beta Pitch. It's our startup competition. We are doing it for 5 years now. This year we're going to have at least 6 local events all over Europe, one in Sao Paulo in Brazil. And the winners from these local pitches come to Berlin in the end, and they pitch for the global Beta Pitch. And the winners go to Silicon Valley, for example, for sure. And they get some money and prizes and so on. And on the slide below, you see a couple of companies, just to give you an idea of what came out of this competition so far. So you see Opdratina in the middle, down down on the slide. They just raised 50 million euros a couple of weeks ago, and they won Beta Pitch last year. Next to it is Go Euro. They raised 27 million last December. They won Beta Pitch 2 years ago. Orderbird in the left corner is now having over 100 employees just around the corner in Berlin. And Louvre in the right corner won so many prizes this year for their beautiful action cam device, this makes us really proud because we've seen them from the beginning. We try to teach them in our office hours, give them advice, and they grew and grew, and good things came out of it. The second thing is hardware.co. Have a look on the website. We're just in front of the next batch of our hardware accelerator. It's going to start in the middle of March. Betahaus loves hardware. Jordi told you already that we build up in every place an electronic lab, and really professional electronic lab, and a nice workshop. So we believe hardware is the thing we want to have on top to all these website and e-commerce businesses in Berlin. And the feedback we get from the applications and from the people using the space is really, really nice. And so we believe we are on the right track. So I hand over.
So we believe our future plans have three steps. The first one would be to make these cooperations worldwide bigger and bigger. We want to sign more agreements. We want to find more spaces that really match into our community and that we match to them. Secondly, we want to open more Betahaus our own. It's very important for us that we keep growing, that we keep growing our business model too. And the third one, and I have to say it's a little bit ambitious, but well, Uber is known as a mobility solution, Airbnb as a travel solution. We want to be the work solution.
And what is important when Jordi talks about the future plans, where we are right now, we feel like we are in the beginning of something bigger. We bootstrapped all these beta houses until now, so we have no investors. We are completely free to do the things we want to do, and now we have to decide what are the next steps. So there was a lot of information about our actual business, so we're going to give you some more information and zoom out of Betahaus into the Berlin, Barcelona entrepreneurship and investor community. So just a fancy slide about Germany to give you an idea what's going on in Berlin. You see 39% of all funding deals last year all over Germany have been made in Berlin. So Berlin is, without question, the tech capital. And you see, I mean, Hamburg 7%, Munich 8%. There's some money which is also invested in these cities, but Berlin is definitely the top player. You also see, it's another interesting fact that over 50% of the German serial entrepreneurs have their headquarters in Berlin. So there's a really, really interesting community evolving. On a broader level, if you look into the startup investments in Europe, you see that London is still ahead, but Berlin got close. So we are optimistic that this will potentially change in the future, and Berlin is getting even closer. You see Barcelona is on the 4th place. That is a very, very, very good result for last year, because Spain is still in a deep crisis. And this is also interesting when you put it into relation with the Catalonian independency movement, what Jordi will handle a little bit later.
Excuse me, was that the number of deals on the slide?
No, it's the number of deals. But you're right, it's a little bit.
Number of deals?
I have to check. Yeah. So the last slide, because we are in Silicon Valley today, shows that there's still a little gap between the investments in Germany and the Silicon Valley. We believe that there's a lot of structural work which has to be done by the German government. So what we see day by day is that it's kind of easy if you have a good product to find angel investment, seed investment, early stage investment, but it's getting very hard if you're looking for bigger money. I mean, this is like a topic which is all over the tech scene in Germany, but it's still actual. There have to be changes, and I think it has to come from the administration. So I hand over again.
So we believe that there is a role for co-working spaces, and there is a role for Betahaus in this entrepreneurship scene. Actually, for Betahaus, it's a flexible and affordable way for entrepreneurs to get in this community. No, but besides that, again, I mean, when you can find the right education without titles, without degrees, just you get what you need to know in order to keep going as an entrepreneur. When you get the right feedback just from our community, showing the product that you just developed, asking them questions, tell them what you should do next. And when you find, because we know that there's people finding the right funding inside the community, because we have good contacts with accelerators, with incubators, with the community itself. No, you find a way to found your project, and for sure, if you can have the chance to prototype, to make a little step forward and decide that this may be the product that you're going to sell. And for sure, we provide everything in an atmosphere of happiness. What we become from every member is that they are happy. If they compare it with where they were before, they are now happy. They don't want to go back to their offices where they were before. They want to stay. We feel like a family. We feel like a real community.
All right, and if you take this into a little bit broader perspective, we believe that Betahaus is in the heart of the ecosystem. So what we do is we have a lot of corporate clients. That means but you don't see them. They actually rent a room or a table like every other participant in the space. We have a lot of freelancers because we believe that they are the backbone of the startup system as well. So we are glad to have them. And we are hosting a lot of startups which are trying to get into deals with corporates, which always need freelancers to support and so on. So we are right in the middle of the ecosystem, and this is good for everybody. And yeah, just to give you an idea of the co-working market, it's getting serious business. We are right now having about 2,700 co-working spaces in Europe, hosting an average of 40 members. The members spend an average of 250 euros per month, which makes only co-working a 27 million euro monthly market. And as we told you before, co-working is only one part of our income. That means if you take into account that most of the co-working spaces also host a lot of events, do education programs, have a gastronomy part, the market is even bigger. So getting close to the last topic here, what is the difference? I mean, why are so many people in Europe choosing Berlin or Barcelona as their headquarters for their startups? When you compare Berlin with London and Paris, we have to say that still in 2015, we offer more spaces for creative people. There's still better living conditions due to lower prices. Okay, the prices increased a lot during the last years, but still, because we had this development the last years, there were so many interesting and creative people coming to the city that this led to a very big community, which is very active and which provides a perfect infrastructure to set up your business. Moreover, we have a famous nightlife and a lot of culture, which is also very attractive to a lot of people worldwide, a lot of Americans as well, to live in Berlin.
Yeah, and in the case of Barcelona, we have a strategic position of the region, not only geographically. I mean, there's a very important region coming from Marseille to Algeciras, the south of Spain, from France to the south of Spain, and there's a lot of economic movement going on there. But also, Barcelona is known as an important bridge to the South American market. Secondly, we have big events in the city. You may know that it's the Mobile World Congress right now going on in Barcelona. And inside this Mobile World Congress, we have the 4 years from now, which is one of the most important events in Europe for sure. But we don't have to forget, Barcelona is also a beautiful city. We have the sea, the good weather, beach, the mountains, just 1 hour away. This attracts a lot of entrepreneurs and investors because it's the city where they want to live.
One of the best soccer teams in
For sure, that's totally true. That's totally true. Yeah, but this could change. Nobody knows. Some people play the fair policy, others play another kind of play. But what it's totally true is that if we get independent, if Catalonia gets independent from Spain, on the startup scene, it's going to be some effects, no? The first effect that we would find is that the fiscal imbalance between Catalonia and Spain, the taxes that we pay and that we never get back, that would be eliminated. That would be meaning just a little bit more of money for investigations. We would have a smaller and more efficient public administration. Well, this is something that I believe if you have a smaller thing, it's maybe probably better to control, better to administrate. But for sure, what it's going to happen, and it's happening right now, it's in the budget of 2015, is that are going to make more investments in infrastructure, new equipments, better connections, and that new taxes, new incentives, and new laws are going to come in order to provide a new atmosphere for entrepreneurship and startups. So, thank you very much for listening. If you have any question, please.
So, just in case not all of us know what Barcelona and Berlin look like, gorgeous cities. I lived in Barcelona for a year. It's an amazing place. Questions? Yes, Rainer.
One of the questions I have for you is seeing your expansion plans and seeing patterns all around these different locations that you have is something that I've been thinking also about how people work and how productive people are, is that it's not just about the space and it's not just about like, you know, the colleagues that you work with, but it's like about the process of work. And I had thought about, like, wouldn't it be cool if there's somebody really designs like a Bauhausian work process plus, you know, this like a work desk or like the work desk of systems that you could deploy around the Bauhaus, Betahaus. So that's something. Is this something that you have been thinking about, or like have you noticed like how efficient people are in different?
Just to be sure that I understood, are we talking about furniture or?
Furniture is one part of design.
I think Rainer's talking about, have you thought about rethinking, redesigning the work process itself?
Yeah. Just helping entrepreneurs.
Well, it's happening. I mean, it happens for itself. I mean, for example, in Betahaus, Barcelona, we have spaces that we didn't thought. It was thought by people who were being in the community and decided to, can we have this like this? So we produce it. No? And I think this is very good because it's giving another way to work. No, and not we're always thinking on working as a chair and a table, and this is totally wrong. I mean, there's several places where you can be very innovative, very I don't know, productive. No,
I mean, it's systems, habits, desks, process, people, noise, huge problem. Yeah. And this could be like a Betahaus brand. That's why I'm just thinking.
Interesting.
Eitan.
So I was going to say really quick, it was really nice overview, by the way, because this is actually a question that's come up several times in discussions with friends who are in Barcelona and Berlin, especially since a lot of entrepreneur friends in Berlin always like to talk about how half of Berlin travels to Barcelona for conferences, and they make the conferences just for the weather. So,
that's true.
So real quick question is, the recent article, WeWork, which you know is a co-working space that's also global, was assigned a multi-billion-dollar valuation. And it is a co-working space, you know, no different, you know, than yours. Yeah. And the question remains, if you know basically how much your revenue is per desk, you know what the size is of average co-working space, do you think this is a reflection of reality or of hype?
I mean, it's. Thank you for the question. Great question. I mean, this is. We were expecting something like this. No, but because it's. I mean, it's all over the media if you are into co-working. But we don't know the details of how they scale. But what we know is that they do a different kind of business model. And I don't know if everybody knows, but in most of the cases, they also do kind of a real estate property business, so they buy the spaces. And as you've seen, we're doing a lot of things. So we're doing education, we're doing events and all that, and WeWork is really focusing on office rent out. So this is easier to scale because you do not have to do the community work on that level, because you can completely focus on renting out your space. I mean, it's fancy space. It's really good looking. So in terms of scalability, I think it is very realistic when you take the real estate part into account that it makes sense to have such a valuation. In terms of providing the right space for making people better entrepreneurs, I believe that our model is much more comprehensive, but the problem is we can't scale that fast because it's harder to replicate.
Now, cultural, I can just a little bit more, a cultural question. So you have Betahouses now in multiple locations. What differences in culture have you seen in the way that people like to work? In other words, have you seen some differences?
I mean, what we can easily answer is there are a lot of differences, particularly when you set up a new city. You have, like different mentality, how people try or like to enter a space like this. So, for example, as you've seen in the presentation, Hamburg already started in 2010, and today, 2015, the co-working boom or the need of the people arrived in Hamburg. So it took a couple of years to convince the people that this is the new way they should like to work. And this is completely different in Berlin. In Berlin, you just open the door with something new. Same in Barcelona, and people feel attracted and they try out. However, the chance that there's something different, new, around the corner and they leave again is higher than in Hamburg. So regarding the working habits itself, do you have any detailed information on that?
Well, to be frank, 50% of our users are coming from abroad, are foreigners. They are not from Barcelona. Most of them are French or Italian, no? Which is, I mean, there are a lot of French or Italian people in Barcelona. And when you have such an international community with more than 50% of the users are coming from abroad, you have like a multi-culti soup in there, no? So, and when you are in this kind of context, what you usually do is you adapt yourself to what is going on around you. So I haven't seen like a specific topics coming from specific cultures, no? We have desks, we have sofas, we have terraces. I know that people coming from Norway always go to the terrace all the time. They don't care if it's winter 2 degrees. They go, T-shirt. And we know also that the Italians, for example, they are always traveling around, and they spend a little less time on their desks that other people do. But I don't know if this is significant.
Andrus and Rainer, can we get you up front? And Andrus, can we put you here since you'll need the mic? Rainer, you're still mic'd up, right? So if you could go on the end. Thanks. And we'll just take a couple more questions because we're going to wrap up at 6. And so the Estonian mafia, any differences that you've seen in how Estonians work styles out of the Baltic, Nordic region, compared to Berlin, Barcelona, Mediterranean?
Well, I have not been to Barcelona or to Berlin, actually, in these co-working spaces. But, of course, Tallinn also attracts, especially with all the new accelerator type of co-working spaces, which are international, like Game Founders and startup wise guys, and also the IoT type of hardware accelerator. Build it.
Would Estonians head to the terrace like the Norwegians in cold weather?
Probably, yep. If you want to do business, well, to do work, then you have to be inside, not at the poolside. Yeah. Sauna. Or Rainer. You have the experience of Tallinn and Silicon Valley.
We have now 18 people in 9 different locations.
Oh, wow.
And so we have people in Spain also. We have in Canada. We have people in Brazil. And that's it in terms of locations. A lot of different nationalities / ethnic groups. It's a mix. And I think it's this cliche sentence, which is actually true. It's like, you always have a culture whether you do something about it or not. Which is why I asked about this Betahaus brand, because I do feel, and it kind of strikes me badly, but I do believe in Bauhaus that people have pretty bad taste, and you have to educate people. Otherwise, why do we read books and whatever? It's just an educational item. But we work really hard on how we work and the process and what is good, define what is good. Trying to get everybody on the same page. There's a lot of overhead and sometimes exhausted, and maybe we should not do that because of the quality, but it really reduces the friction. We also have a very big age disparity. So we have people in like 30 years in oil and gas. I'm 32, you know, so that's very important to build this kind of understanding and process, and so the cultures are very different otherwise. So yeah.
Max. So let's wrap up with Max and Jordi.
All right. I mean, I just wanted to add that, I mean, and also this refers to the question from before regarding the different cultures. As in Barcelona, we also have in Berlin permanently over 50% users from members from abroad. And they all come to Betahaus for different purposes. So, you know, measuring like if somebody is successful working on his company or on his entrepreneurial career is very hard because people are always looking for different things. So, you know, one of the guys entering is just trying to focus on his or her work, and the other one is trying to connect and network all the time. And this might look like a different type of work, but it's also it's only related to the different purpose of the person.
Jordi, we will give our final word to our guest from Catalonia.
Thank you. Though something that I wanted to clarify. I mean, we build, as Max said before, we build communities. We don't rent space. To build a community, and we are focused on entrepreneurs or freelancers who are going to be once entrepreneurs if they want to, and startups. It's pretty new from the co-working side of view, and co-working is just one of the things that we do in order to go to our objective with this one, to foster entrepreneurship.
Okay. So just a reminder that next week is our final session. We'll be featuring gaming startups and venture capital from Bulgaria and Romania. Please thank our speakers, traveled a very long way. So, Max, thank you so much. You came all the way from Berlin. We appreciate that. Jordi.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And Rainer and Andrus, don't go away. So again, small gifts. Rainer, thank you so much. Thank you for, and Andrus, thank you for supporting Stanford.
Picture with you in the middle?
Yeah. So again, we'll see you next week. Please come down and meet the speakers. Those of you who would like to join us for dinner, please come and see me. Thank you.